Every brooch, every string of pearls, every diamond-studded whisper wrapped around Jackie Kennedy's wrist told a tale of love, ambition, grief, or revenge. These are 50 stories carved in carats and sealed with the signature style of America's most enigmatic First Lady. Did the redesigned engagement ring mirror a marriage in motion? Were those pearls really resin that fooled the world and made a fortune at auction? Those are just gossip. But the real drama, it begins with the ring that started it all, Jackie's famous engagement sparkler. When John F. Kennedy proposed to Jacqueline Bouvier in 1953, oddly enough, her left hand was bare. No glittering announcement ring, no sparkly press moment. Just Jackie, calm as ever, telling reporters, "I haven't one yet. Jack and I have looked at dozens of them. Some I didn't like and others weren't the right type." Jackie knew exactly what she didn't want, and she wasn't about to settle. In a twist worthy of a Kennedy family drama, it wasn't Jack who made the final choice. It was his father, Joseph Kennedy, who picked out the ring from Van Cleef & Arpels on Fifth Avenue. The selection? A showstopper. A 2.84-carat emerald and a 2.88-carat diamond nestled side by side in a bypass setting, flanked by baguettes. The emerald, with its deep green fire, was symbolic of renewal, while the diamond carried all the weight of legacy and permanence. But Jackie Kennedy never left anything untouched, not even her engagement ring. In 1962, almost a decade later and deep into her role as First Lady, she had the ring redesigned. The modest baguettes were replaced with a glittering coronet of marquise and round-cut diamonds, swelling the total carat weight to nearly 8. The once understated setting now radiated with grandeur. But Jackie's transformation of her engagement ring was just one chapter. Another iconic piece from that story? Her breathtaking wedding bracelet. Jackie Kennedy owned a significant bracelet known as her wedding bracelet, a custom-designed pearl and diamond hinged bangle bracelet she wore at her 1953 wedding, which was a collaborative creation with her husband, John F. Kennedy. This hinged bracelet, featuring numerous shell pearls and simulated diamonds in rhodium-plated metal, is a popular design for bridal jewelry and has been the subject of replicas, as it is no longer manufactured. As she stepped into the Kennedy dynasty, more glittering gifts awaited, each one steeped in symbolism and splendor. When Jacqueline Bouvier married John F. Kennedy in 1953, her entry into America's most ambitious political dynasty was marked by sparkle. As a wedding gift, Joe and Rose Kennedy presented Jackie with 2 spectacular diamond leaf brooches from Van Cleef & Arpels, crafted in Paris and composed of shimmering diamonds set in platinum. They were designed with removable pins, so Jackie could wear them both on her gowns and, ever so regally, in her hair. She wore one clip during JFK's inauguration gala in 1961, pinned to the shoulder of her creamy satin gown, a subtle nod to tradition wrapped in modern elegance. Later, she paired one of the clips with a pearl choker during her tour of India and Pakistan in 1962. Despite their high glamour, she never wore both brooches together in public, always opting for restraint over excess. Her brooches marked moments of diplomacy and grace, but the true heartbeats of her collection came earlier, like in 1957, when she received a stunning pair of diamond earrings from JFK, celebrating the birth of their daughter. In 1957, following the birth of their first child, Caroline Kennedy, Senator John F. Kennedy gifted Jackie a pair of exquisite diamond earrings. The earrings featured a delicate cascade of marquise and round-cut diamonds, graceful, elegant, and distinctly Jackie. She wore them for some of her most photographed state occasions, including the glamorous 1961 state visit to Canada. In private, she reportedly referred to them as Caroline's earrings, a subtle sign she intended to pass them down. Proof that, even with diamonds, she was thinking about legacy. And indeed she did. After Jackie's death in 1994, the earrings did not surface at auction like many of her other iconic pieces. Instead, they quietly passed to Caroline Kennedy, avoiding the hungry eyes of collectors and the stage lights of Sotheby's. Jewelry for Jackie was never just about beauty. It was about meaning. From sentimental heirlooms like Caroline's earrings to more theatrical pieces, she knew how to make them speak. And nowhere was that more apparent than in her love of brooches. She often wore them pinned to a coat, jacket, or dress. She clipped diamond brooches on her pearls, taking them from ordinary to extraordinary. But her most notable brooch was the diamond sunburst brooch. In 1962, while visiting London, Jackie fell under the spell of an antique diamond sunburst brooch, a luminous piece with an astronomical price tag. To make it hers without causing a family scandal, she quietly sold several valuable brooches gifted to her by her in-laws, Joseph and Rose Kennedy. Jackie then had exact costume copies made of the pieces she'd sold and continued to wear them publicly for the rest of her life. No one, not even the Kennedys, caught on to the swap. Some say this jewelry sleight of hand reflected her complex relationship with the Kennedy clan. Jackie was always polite, impeccably so, but behind the scenes, she found the family's rowdy energy and competitive dynamics exhausting. Her worst tensions, according to multiple sources, were with Ethel Kennedy, Robert's wife, whose outgoing, party-loving personality clashed with Jackie's cool reserve. While rumors sometimes embellish the tale, the sunburst brooch story is well documented and paints a vivid portrait of a woman who knew how to navigate power, family politics, and fashion with equal finesse. But for all the drama behind, Jackie's true language was style, and nothing spoke louder than the jewelry she chose to wear in public. Jackie Kennedy's most iconic piece of jewelry was her lustrous triple-strand pearls. Though photographed in them countless times, from White House dinners to strolls through Paris, they weren't natural pearls at all. Designed by Kenneth J. Lane, the necklace was crafted from hand-molded resin beads with a rhinestone-studded clasp. When it went to auction at Sotheby's in 1996, it sold for an astonishing $211,500. Not for its materials, but for the legacy it represented. Lane often quipped that he had made Jackie's pearls, and in turn, they had helped make him famous. And yet, Jackie's pearls were more than fashion. They were a kind of armor, a carefully chosen symbol for every public moment. But not every occasion called for them. One of her most iconic appearances in London sparked a different kind of stir entirely. When Jackie met Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace in 1961, she wore a sleek silk gown, white gloves, and her signature bouffant hairstyle. Some later gossip claimed she had worn her famous faux pearls to Buckingham Palace, but photographs show otherwise. The real controversy of the evening wasn't her jewelry at all, but a guest list dispute over her sister and brother-in-law. Jackie had requested that her sister, Lee Radziwill, and brother-in-law, Prince Stanislaw Radziwill, be invited. But Queen Elizabeth reportedly declined due to their recent divorce and remarriage, which clashed with royal protocol. Royal protocol wasn't new to Jackie. It followed her across continents. And sometimes, navigating power meant knowing when to say no to the crown jewels themselves. Not all treasures glittered enough to tempt Jackie Kennedy. When the Shah of Iran offered her a rare emerald, said to have ancient Persian lineage and the weight of centuries behind its shimmer, Jackie turned it down without blinking. It wasn't vanity or dislike. It was diplomacy. Accepting a gift of such magnitude from a monarch with geopolitical stakes could have sent the wrong message across international lines. Jackie knew when to say no to opulence, but life doesn't always ask permission. In the winter of 1963, a grief loomed over the Kennedy household following the heartbreaking death of their newborn son, Patrick. JFK sought solace not in words, but in a jewel. He turned to Van Cleef & Arpels and chose a soft pink 47-carat kunzite, embraced by diamonds weighing nearly 20 carats, set in platinum and gold. It was believed to be intended as Jackie's Christmas gift that year, a silent expression of love after unspeakable loss. But fate intervened. Just weeks before the holiday, JFK was assassinated in Dallas. When Sotheby's unveiled the ring in its 1996 estate auction after Jackie's passing, it gleamed in near pristine condition, suggesting she had worn it sparingly, if at all. Estimated at around $12,000, it ultimately sold for $410,000, a sum that reflected the history it carried. Yet not all of Jackie's treasures were dazzling rings or glimmering gems. Some were far more curious. Gifted to her in 1963 by her brother-in-law, Prince Stanislaw Radziwiłł, the Cartier Tank watch commemorated a very specific, very peculiar event. A 50-mile hike sparked by President Kennedy's National Fitness Challenge. Inscribed with the time 2:05 a.m. to 9:35 p.m. and the phrase, "Stas to Jackie, 23 Feb. 1963, 50 miles walk." Even more fascinating, the tank style itself was a favorite among cultural elites, from Andy Warhol to Princess Diana. Warhol famously said, "I don't wear a tank to tell the time. I wear a tank because it is the watch to wear." Jackie clearly agreed. Years later, this modest little timepiece sold at a Christie's auction for a jaw-dropping $379,500. Not because of its mechanics. After all, it wasn't a tourbillon or some rare complication, but because of the woman who wore it. The scandal? The buyer was Kim Kardashian, a modern icon of American fame. Critics gasped. Was this timeless symbol of grace and diplomacy now part of a reality TV dynasty? But perhaps Jackie would have smiled at the irony. After all, she knew a thing or two about being both adored and scrutinized. But the story of Kennedy style didn't stop with Jackie. Years later, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, her daughter-in-law, would redefine it all over again, in her own minimalist, unforgettable way. Her Cartier Tank Francais had a bolder bracelet design, introduced in 1996, the same year she married JFK Jr. It had a modern twist, an integrated metal bracelet, sharp lines, but the same rectangular face, Roman numerals, and restrained elegance. Carolyn, who worked as a Calvin Klein PR executive, often wore her watch with her signature neutral tones: ivory slip dresses, black turtlenecks, tailored coats. Their watches, though different in model and era, mirrored their personalities. Jackie's was delicate, warm-toned, and inscribed. Carolyn's was sleek, sharp, and unadorned. Another eerie connection: both watches became iconic after their deaths. Jackie soared in value posthumously, especially after it was seen in photographs during key moments. Her widowhood, her second marriage to Aristotle Onassis, even in editorial shoots. Carolyn's, on the other hand, became a visual synonym for 90s New York minimalism. What makes this story so fascinating isn't just the provenance of the watch, it's the symbolism. The Cartier Tank, designed during World War I and inspired by the Renault tanks on the battlefield, became a quiet rebellion on Jackie's wrist. From a wartime-inspired watch to a bracelet that resembled a candy-colored revolution, Jackie's jewelry choices continued to evolve and surprise. In 1962, President Kennedy gifted Jackie something far more playful than pearls, a Croisillon bangle by Jean Schlumberger for Tiffany & Company. Unlike the heavy diamond tiaras of old, this bracelet shimmered with color. Jackie adored it. Over the years, she bought several more in a rainbow of shades: turquoise, red, green, black. Soon, the public and the press took notice. Women across America clamored for their own version of the now iconic design, and the bangles earned a nickname worthy of fashion royalty: the Jackie bracelet. In a time when daytime jewelry was either conservative or non-existent, Jackie once again broke the mold, turning a simple bracelet into a national style statement. And just when it seemed Jackie's jewelry couldn't get any more iconic, JFK surprised her with something that would make headlines for an entirely different reason. For their 10th wedding anniversary in 1963, President John F. Kennedy gifted Jackie one of the most dazzling pieces of jewelry in her collection, a custom-designed Van Cleef & Arpels ring. In fact, Jackie was one of the first American first ladies to publicly wear Van Cleef & Arpels, a French brand not yet widely known in the U.S. at the time. Each diamond symbolized a year of their complex, often turbulent marriage, from the glamour of the campaign trail to the private tragedies they never spoke of publicly. That very year, JFK was assassinated. Jacqueline always wore the emerald ring close to her wedding band. After JFK's death, Jackie had 2 of the emeralds removed and made into 2 separate rings, and gave one ring to each of her sons, JFK Jr. and her daughter Caroline. Today, after Jackie's death and the death of her brother, Caroline Kennedy now has all 3 rings. Those rings became a legacy of love, loss, and resilience. But Jackie's jewelry didn't always follow tradition. In fact, some of her most iconic choices came from breaking every rule in the book. Jackie famously broke a major fashion rule by wearing bracelets and chunky gold cuffs over her opera-length gloves. Until then, style Bibles had warned women never to layer jewelry on top of gloves. It was seen as clunky, even vulgar. But when Jackie did it, it was suddenly daring, modern, even chic. Designers took notes, and society women followed. It wouldn't be the last time Jackie rewrote the rules. Her sense of style kept evolving, sharpening with time, until it reflected something far more powerful than fashion. And by the late 1970s, her look told an entirely different story. Her Vogue appearance in the late 1970s wasn't adorned with diamonds or draped in nostalgia. It was defiant. In a 1978 photo shoot by Horst P. Horst, Jackie Kennedy Onassis wore sharp gold cuffs and geometric rings, a far cry from the delicate pearls and soft glamour of her first lady years. This wasn't Camelot's sweetheart. This was a woman who had buried a president, lived through threats and relentless paparazzi, and painstakingly rebuilt her life from the shadows. But Jackie redefined American elegance. Gone were the European pearls. In their place, a new language of power began to emerge, one forged in bold metals and even bolder choices. At a time when European houses like Cartier and Van Cleef still dominated Washington's social sparkle, Jackie quietly tapped a bold, young designer named David Webb to craft something unlike anything seen in diplomatic circles: official gifts of state made from American minerals. By choosing Webb, Jackie was rewriting the rules of soft power, using quartz and malachite as tools of diplomacy. And in doing so, she helped launch David Webb into the stratosphere, where his bold animal bracelets and chunky enamel rings would later become collector's items worn by Hollywood royalty and real royalty alike. Jackie had a gift for turning objects into messages, stones into statements. But one diamond stood apart. Let's dive into one of the most legendary gems in Jackie Kennedy's vault, the Lesotho III diamond. It's a 40.42 carat titan of a stone, cut from the original 601 carat Lesotho diamond, one of the largest rough diamonds ever unearthed. The jewel was a gift from none other than Aristotle Onassis, Jackie's billionaire second husband, whose taste in gifts matched his ego. Grand, rare, and impossible to ignore. Jackie wore the ring just twice, once during a public event and once for a photo, before quietly tucking it away in a secure Manhattan bank vault. Was she intimidated by the stone's size? Or was she well aware that such a diamond came with invisible weight, whispers, scrutiny, power? When it finally re-emerged decades later, it fetched a dazzling $2.59 million at Sotheby's in 1996. Proof that, even locked in a vault, Jackie's jewels never lost their voice. Some of Jackie's jewels lived in shadows, tucked away in silence. Others were made to dazzle in the spotlight. Jackie Kennedy's so-called Apollo earrings shimmered like twin suns every time she turned her head. Onassis presented them to Jackie for her 40th birthday, lending the earrings a trifecta of sentimental significance. In addition to celebrating the Apollo landing and her birthday, rubies are the traditional gift for 40th anniversaries. The earrings nodded to Jackie's late husband, President John F. Kennedy, who had led America's charge in the space race. These sculptural stunners featured radiant yellow diamonds set in gold, and were said to resemble miniature bursts of solar flare, hence the nickname Apollo. Unlike her more reserved pearl strands, these earrings weren't subtle. They were declarations of power. Jackie wore the Apollo earrings during a key moment in her post-White House life, after her marriage to Aristotle Onassis. The earrings, reportedly commissioned by Van Cleef & Arpels, played into Jackie's love of celestial motifs, stars, moons, suns, which echoed her lifelong fascination with mythology and symbolism. But were they truly called Apollo by Jackie herself? While fashion historians and collectors have dubbed them as such, no official record from Jackie or her estate confirms the name. In 1968, as the world still mourned the loss of President John F. Kennedy, Jackie lit up the headlines again, but this time with rubies. That year, Aristotle Onassis presented her with a dazzling set of ruby ear clips and a matching ring, both designed by Van Cleef & Arpels. The ear clips featured Cabochon rubies glowing like drops of royal wine, surrounded by diamonds in a sunburst motif, while the ring echoed the same unapologetic opulence. According to Forbes, the ruby set resurfaced decades later at a Sotheby's auction, fetching $312,500, with the ring alone selling for $192,500. Of course, jewelry like that couldn't just be tossed into a drawer. For Jackie, every gem had its place, hidden behind velvet-lined doors, far from curious eyes. And tucked inside her Manhattan apartment was the perfect hiding spot. Naturally, Jackie Kennedy's legendary jewels needed a palace of their own. And so, nestled within her elegant Fifth Avenue apartment, she commissioned a custom-built jewelry cabinet that some insiders compared to a Wall Street vault. Crafted to be discreet yet impenetrable, the cabinet's true contents were known only to a trusted few. Over the years, whispers circulated. What lay inside? The famed Van Cleef & Arpels ruby set? The diamond earrings she wore to Versailles? As the world speculated about what she kept hidden, Jackie reminded them she could weaponize what she wore in plain sight. In the 1970s, Jackie Kennedy Onassis found herself constantly under the blinding glare of paparazzi flashbulbs. But instead of hiding, she transformed defense into high fashion. She began wearing a bold, oversized gold sunburst brooch whenever she stepped out in public. Rumors swirled that the brooch's radiant, reflective surface was no coincidence. It was designed to bounce camera flashes, blurring her face like a living halo. Whether the rumor was true or just tabloid myth, it's hard to deny the symbolism. Jackie turned the spotlight back on the cameras, using beauty as both armor and weapon. As the years passed, her jewelry evolved from mere accessories into bold declarations of self. And in 1989, she made one of her most unforgettable statements yet. Jackie Kennedy arrived at a dinner at the Kennedy Library as a former First Lady and as a woman who knew exactly how to make a silent statement. Wrapped around her wrist was a striking gold cuff, chunky, architectural, and impossibly glamorous. Designed by Isaac Manovitz of Ben Amun, the piece was later dubbed the Jackie Cuff, an unofficial but affectionate nickname that stuck. With its spherical gold ball accents and bold structure, the cuff was regal, almost Cleopatra-like. Ben Amun, a New York-based brand known for its Egyptian-inspired designs, suddenly had its Jackie moment, and the world took notice. It was one of the last times Jackie's jewelry would speak for her in public. After her death, the pieces she wore so deliberately would begin a new journey through auctions, museums, and into history. When Jackie Kennedy passed away in 1994, the world lost a former First Lady and a style icon whose jewelry box had dazzled diplomats, royalty, and the paparazzi alike. 2 years later, in 1996, her estate held a historic auction at Sotheby's in New York, drawing collectors, historians, and fans from every corner of the globe. The auction was nothing short of electric. Bids soared as pieces like her rings and a triple-strand faux pearl necklace fetched jaw-dropping prices. But not everything went under the hammer. Some of Jackie's most sentimental pieces, quiet keepsakes from Jack or tokens worn during state dinners, were lovingly kept in the hands of her children, John Jr. and Caroline. A few treasures, including brooches and ceremonial pieces, now rest at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston. So, after the emeralds, rubies, tanks, cuffs, and that vault-worthy Lesotho III, what shines the brightest? The jewels or the woman who weaponized elegance? Jackie turned protocol into performance art, faux pearls as legend, bracelets over gloves as rebellion, a brooch as both halo and shield. Which confirmed fact made you gasp? If this glittering autopsy of power and jewels hooked you, don't stop here. Our channel dives into royal treasures, cursed crowns, and the hidden stories stitched into style. Ready for another gem that talks back? Pick your next video.